Okay, let's have a look at your latest introductions. So, another two-part question as before. In some countries, the quality of life in larger cities is declining. Why and how can we stop it, etc. We'll take a look at my introduction and paraphrase first, and then we'll take a look at yours. So I just changed a few things here in some countries, in some parts of the world. But quality of life I didn't change because as a collocation, as a phrase, there's not so many variations, if any. Life quality, it's just not the same. The quality of life. Now, I've said this before, you don't have to paraphrase or change everything. And in some cases, in fact, it's not possible. So in some parts of the world, the quality of life in larger cities, major cities, is declining, is in decline. Okay. Answer question 1. Why do you think? So it's an opinion. In my view, this is due to overpopulation and its demand on natural resources. So if I were to write this complete essay, the tack, the approach that I would probably take, I would probably talk about overpopulation, too many people rushing to the big cities, the capital cities for work jobs, too many people, infrastructure, resources, etc. And I would probably go down that particular route for this essay. Question 2, what measures can be taken to stop it? Well, however, I believe that comprehensive education regarding birth control options. So, in other words, too many people, overpopulation, we need to reduce the population. And as we know in some parts of the world, the birth rate, the demographic is considerably higher than in other parts. So often that's down to issues of education, though not exclusively, but religion, culture, and education. So I would probably talk about something such as that if I were writing this essay, in fact. Okay, so here's our first introduction. Now, as I said, there's some things that, the quality of life, that's a well-known expression, it's a well-known phrase, people have heard it, the quality of life. So the author here, I can't read this, it's in Farsi. Life's quality, that is not the same thing. Life's quality, how can life have a possessive, a genitive case, you see? So that's an example of what I'm talking about. It doesn't work. You can't. Life's equality. Hang on a sec. Let's just let this plane go by overhead. This is quite annoying. For some reason, they've changed the flight path in the last week or two, because I live not far away from the airport. Let's get out of my bloody way. Right. Okay. So, life's quality, that doesn't work. That's not the same as the quality of life. Are reducing. So, life's quality are, shouldn't it be is? So, we've got some subject-verb confusion issues here. Is quality of life, is it singular, is it plural? So, that doesn't quite work there. Are reducing, especially in the bigger cities of some countries. So, if it had said the quality of life is lessening, because it's not reducing. Reducing is not the same thing as lessening or declining. That implies a negative process. Simply reducing means it's getting smaller, which is not the same thing as a decline or lessening, becoming less. So it's not quite the same thing. I believe it is due to increasing, don't need that, population and pollution while stabilizing. So why do we have a conjunction here that we usually use to talk about when two things are happening at the same time? I was watching TV while surfing the internet. So I don't really know why we have this here while stabilising our facilities. What facilities do you mean? So it makes more sense to simply say, I believe it is due to increasing population and pollution. Okay. To solve the problems, we need comprehensive actions or action by individuals and governments, which is controlling the population and improving the cities. Okay, right, yeah. So that's good. It's just I'm not quite sure what this part means. That doesn't make a lot of sense. But apart from that, so that's not too bad. It just needs a little bit of clarification, I think. Now this paraphrase is good. Look. The quality of life is diminishing. Okay. So again, reducing just means getting smaller. Diminishing, declining means it's getting worse. So that's excellent. The quality of life is diminishing in many major cities. A growth in population, and it seems that people are using more or less the same arguments here. Okay. The growth in population is the possible reason that can result in environmental problems. Okay, well, it's not specifically talking about environment. It says quality of life. Now, that's for you to define in the essay. Okay, so we'd have to wait and see where the rest of the essay went. However, these problems could be tackled, restriction of population, people's action. Okay, now, that's pretty good, you see. We've got a good restatement of a topic, and we've got a clear and succinct answer to both questions. The growth in population is causing this. It can be tackled by imposing restrictions on population. Okay, so that was good. I commend it. Okay. In many parts of the world, people residing in big cities are suffering from a decreasing quality of life. Okay, but pollution resulting rather than resulting traffic congestion and an increase in living spending. What you mean in cost of living? That's a usual expression that we use. Living spending. We don't usually use that's not the usual collocation. Is the cost of living. Maybe attributed. Well, attributed just means it belongs to, or it is said or written by someone. So I don't know if we would use attributed to this issue, because an issue can't have anything attributed to it. The expression the cost of living is often attributed to the well-known author blah blah blah. That's how that would work, so we can't really use it here. However, if the or a public transport system is developed and the government can cut prices, the problem will be alleviated. So, pollution, traffic congestion, cost of living. Okay, the problem or problems will be alleviated. So, that's not bad at all. Another one, not too bad. Living in major cities in some countries is losing its positive attributes. Well, okay, it's kind of a paraphrase. In my opinion, this issue could be caused by a considerable increase in automation and being extremely industrious. Well, who or what is being extremely industrious? But encouraging people to choose an organic lifestyle and avoid overworking might be influential in preventing a social crisis. Okay. So this is a bit more general. We'd have to wait and see what the rest of the essay had to say. But it does, it does its job. Okay? It doesn't really say positive attributes. It's not quite the same as declining. Because if you lose some positive attributes, it just makes it even. It doesn't necessarily imply that things are getting worse. Not in strict terms of English, anyway. But, okay, that's not so bad. It's not quite as straightforward as these first two, where it's pretty clear what it's talking about. But, okay. that the world's biggest cities, well, it doesn't say the biggest cities, it just says in some countries. In other words, in some parts of the world. So it's not. So we don't necessarily need a superlative. Are causing its dwellers, well, the cities themselves are not causing anything. To encounter deteriorated quality of life. Deteriorated, or because that implies it's finished, or which is not the same as declining. Now, using continuous form here, declining implies it's a process. Yeah, so it's ongoing. Deteriorated implies that it's finished, which I don't believe it has. So you've got to be very careful in paraphrasing to make sure that you capture the essence of what the topic is, what you paraphrase is. You know, if you do it wrong, it doesn't quite work. So okay, that's not. It could be a little better. You know, it isn't bad, but it could be a little better. I opine. Now, you can use that word, but I've never used it. I opine. I always say either I think or in my opinion. You can use it. It's not grammatically incorrect, but you know, as a native, I have never written or said I opine blah blah blah. I've never done it. Two most now the prominent reasons. We don't really use that as a collocation. We use major reasons, significant reasons. So it's not too bad, but it's not the usual collocation which we would use. Behind this phenomenon can be the fall, the effective the fall. What? So it's finished. It's not falling. It's not a process. It's actually finished. Okay. Of effective communication among urban people and the industrialization of larger cities. So I'm not quite sure what that is talking about. And then we've got a dead sentence. What do I keep telling you? Don't write these dead sentences. What do I keep telling you 100,000 million billion times? Well, okay. Several times. Not to use these empty sentences. In this essay, there's going to be some answers to the problems, but I'm not going to tell you what they are. It's a waste of words. It's what I would term an empty sentence, of a dead sentence, because it says nothing. There's some solutions to this problem which we will discuss. Well, if you look at the previous ones, they tell you. Imposing restrictions on people's actions, develop public transport, curb prices, encouraging people to choose an organic lifestyle. That's better than saying there's some solutions and we'll have a look at those a bit later on. Okay. Nowadays, along with the creation of megacities, what doesn't really say that? Where does it say that? Where does it say that? It doesn't say that. Lifestyles have fallen in terms of quality. Fallen in terms of quality, okay, that's not too bad, but still, you know, quality of life is better as compared to before. Okay, there are a couple of reasons for such a problem. Chief among them, air pollution, unemployment, home affairs gets worse by burglary. Inappropriate in terms of wellness. No, that doesn't work. In terms of wellness, is that even a word? No, that doesn't quite work out. So, okay, not too bad, but you've got to watch how you paraphrase. Some things, if it doesn't collocate, it doesn't sound as natural as it should. So you've got to be a little bit careful there. Civilian satisfaction. Well, it's not. Quality of life, is it satisfaction? Not entirely. Some people could be satisfied with a lower standard of life. Personal satisfaction is personal. It doesn't necessarily imply anything to do with quality of life itself. Constantly dropping. Well, dropping is not the same as declining or worsening. Not quite the same. Due to some critical reasons. Critical reasons? Okay. Uprising? What, you mean in revolution? Or simply rising? I think it's possibly rising, not uprising. Higher taxes and a limited amount of facilities, not to come as obstacles. What exactly are adjusted rules? Do you mean laws? Adjusted rules? I hope you mean laws, because that doesn't make sense. Moreover, governments ought to focus on expanding rural. How can cities have rural areas? They're cities. They don't have them. Rural areas are not in the cities. That's why it's not called the city. So I'm not quite sure what that means or where this essay would be going. Okay. Living in mega cities has always been in need of some requirements. Oh, okay. Extremely moving. Why do we have this adverb? Extremely moving. I don't know what that means. Why do we have an adverb extremely moving? From rural areas to cities, as well as high off prices. What? High prices causes citizens to witness serious problems. To address this issue, authorities are responsible, or they should be responsible, to set preventative law. Preventative laws? Well, to control not only the migration trend but also increasing prices. Okay. Well, some of the phrasing here needs a bit of attention. It's not as clear as it should be as to where this is going. Again, we'd have to see the rest of the essay. Maybe that would make it clearer and clarify what exactly you were talking about. But this is not the extremely moving. So some requirements. What does that mean? Extremely moving? What? You mean large numbers of people are moving, or do you mean extreme migration or mass migration? Now that would work better. To witness, that only means to see or be a witness to, which is not quite what it's not quite working in terms of paraphrase. To address this issue, preventive laws. Okay, so I'm not quite sure that is going. So to recap, then let's have a look. So okay, that one's pretty good. Not too bad. Okay, some of us need a little bit of attention, maybe in word choice in paraphrasing terms. Here's my introduction. I'll leave it here on the screen so you can see it. So that's all that you need for these two-part questions. You simply paraphrase, and again, you've got to watch your paraphrasing if it doesn't quite work. I say you don't have to change everything. So answer a question. Restate the topic. Answer question 1. Answer question 2, and that would be fine. Excellent. So I'll post another question in a minute or two, and I'll see you next time.